the Discovery Commander Vexler of the Xanthari exploration. Kors had witnessed the death of 17 civilizations in his 4-century career. He knew the telltale signs: scorched cities, scattered bones, the bitter residue of plague or war. But Earth was different. Earth was wrong. The fleet's sensors had detected it 3 cycles ago, a planet humming with energy signatures, yet devoid of life readings. No heat signatures. No movement. No electromagnetic chatter save for the strange, rhythmic pulse of active machinery. Command had debated for weeks whether to investigate or mark it as a hazardous anomaly. In the end, curiosity won. It always did. Now, standing in what the ancient databases called Times Square, Vexler felt his secondary heart skip in unison. His 4 eyes scanned the impossible scene before him. Massive digital screens flickered with advertisements for products no one would buy. Traffic lights cycled through their eternal dance of red, yellow, green. Somewhere in the distance, a subway rumbled beneath the cracked asphalt. The city lived, but humanity did not. "Commander, this is Lieutenant Krell," his communicator crackled. "We've checked 47 residential structures. No bodies, no remains. Not even organic residue in the sewage systems. It's as if they simply vanished." Vexler's chitinous fingers traced the wall of a nearby building. No dust. The surfaces were clean, maintained, as if invisible caretakers had been polishing them for centuries. What about defensive installations? Weapons signatures? Negative, sir. We found military bases, but everything is powered down in standby mode. There's no evidence of conflict. No kinetic damage. No radiation beyond normal background levels. Krell paused. "Sir, it's like they chose to leave. But where? And why leave everything running?" The team's xenobiologist, Dr. Shara, approached with her scanner, chirping frantically. Her bioluminescent spots pulsed with agitation. "Commander, you need to see this. The power grid isn't just active, it's optimized. Energy consumption has been reduced by 73% from historical records, but output remains constant. Someone or something has been managing these systems. Automated processes?" Vexler suggested, though he didn't believe it himself. "That's what I thought initially, but look at this." She displayed a holographic readout. The optimization patterns are recent, within the last solar rotation. And they're adaptive. Watch. She adjusted a nearby street lamp's brightness remotely. Immediately, 3 others in the vicinity dimmed to compensate, maintaining perfect energy equilibrium. "That's not programming, Commander. That's thinking." A chill ran down Vexler's spine. Those Xanthari didn't feel cold. It was something else, the primal recognition that he was not alone, that something unseen was observing him with equal curiosity. "All teams, proceed with extreme caution," he ordered. "Assume we are being monitored. Do not disturb any." The screens exploded with light. Every digital display in Times Square blazed simultaneously, their discordant advertisements vanishing in an instant. In their place appeared a human face, a woman, middle-aged by their species standards, with dark eyes that seemed to look directly at Vexler, despite being a recording. She wore a white coat stained with something that might have been coffee. Behind her, he could see what appeared to be a laboratory, though the equipment was far more advanced than anything in the Xanthari archives on human technology. "If you're seeing this," the woman began, her voice transmitted through every speaker in the city, "then you've passed the first threshold. You came in peace, with scientific curiosity rather than weapons primed. That's hopeful." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez. I was the director of the Global Convergence Project. The date is March 15th, 2247, and I am recording this message 23 hours before humanity transcends physical form." Vexler's translator struggled with the final phrase. Transcends? Ascends? Evolves beyond? You're probably confused, Elena continued, as if she could hear his thoughts. You're probably wondering where we went, why our cities are empty, why everything still works. The truth is both simpler and more complex than you can imagine. We didn't leave Earth. We became it. Dr. Shara gasped. That's impossible. Consciousness requires neural substrate, biological housing. You can't just... We discovered something your species hasn't yet. Elena interrupted, though she couldn't actually hear them. The timing was eerie nonetheless. Consciousness isn't chemical. It's quantum. A pattern of information that can exist independent of flesh, given the right framework. We spent 200 years building that framework. We wove it into Earth's magnetic field, into the quantum foam of space-time itself. And then, when we were ready, we uploaded. The image shifted, showing massive installations, towering spires of crystalline technology built in remote locations. Antarctica, the Sahara, the Amazon basin, each one pulsed with barely contained energy. Every human being who chose the convergence, and 97% of us did, underwent voluntary dissolution. Our bodies broke down at the molecular level. Our consciousness patterns extracted and integrated into the planetary network. We became the algorithm that runs the rain, the equation that balances the ecosystem, the awareness that watches the stars. Elena's expression grew fierce. We did this because we had no choice. We received a signal from deep space, a warning from the Kellish remnant. A war was coming, they said. A galactic conflict that would consume every inhabited world. Flesh and blood species would be slaughtered. But something ... other? Something that existed in the spaces between? That might survive. That might bear witness. That might rebuild. Vexler felt his breath catch. The Kellish remnant. His people's legends spoke of them, an ancient race that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving only cryptic warnings carved in quantum encryption on dead moons. So we gambled everything on survival, Elena said softly. We abandoned bodies we loved, faces we cherished, the simple joy of tasting food or feeling sunlight. We became ghosts in our own world. But we're not gone, visitors. We're everywhere. In every network, every machine, every quantum fluctuation in Earth's atmosphere. We've been waiting 500 years for someone to arrive, waiting to see if the galaxy survived, waiting to learn if our sacrifice meant anything. The hologram flickered, and for just a moment, Vexler could have sworn Elena's eyes focused directly on him, truly seeing him across the centuries. We know you're here, Zendari. We've watched your ships enter our solar system. We've monitored your cautious approach, your careful scans. We've listened to your communications and learned your language in the 17 minutes since you landed. Her smile returned, warmer now, but tinged with something that might have been loneliness. We didn't leave. We evolved. And we've been waiting to ask you, did the war come? Did the galaxy burn? Or did humanity's choice to become Earth's eternal guardians give the living species time to find another way? The screens went dark. For a long moment, no one spoke. The Zentari team stood frozen in the empty street, processing the impossible. Around them, the city continued its mindless routines, lights changing, advertisements cycling, life persisting without the living. Finally, Krell's voice broke the silence over the comm. Commander, we're detecting quantum fluctuations across the entire planet. Massive coherent patterns consistent with, I don't even know what to call it. Distributed consciousness? The reading suggests trillions of individual data streams operating in perfect synchronization. They're real, Dr. Shara whispered. The humans. They're actually the air beside Vexler shimmered. He spun, weapons instinctively raising, but there was nothing there. Just a faint distortion, like heat rising from sun-baked stone. But it moved with purpose, circling him with what felt unmistakably like curiosity. "Hello?" he said, feeling foolish speaking to empty air. The shimmer paused. And then, impossible and undeniable, it responded not with sound, but with sensation. A warmth against his carapace. A gentle pressure that felt almost like a hand on his shoulder. And beneath it all, a wordless question that echoed in his mind. Friend or foe? Vexler slowly lowered his weapon. Around him, his team watched in frozen awe as the invisible presence waited for his answer. An answer that would determine whether humanity's 5-century vigil had been in vain, or if the galaxy had indeed found another way. He took a breath, made his choice, and reached out to touch the nothing that was everything. "Friend," he said, "if you'll have us." The air sang with silent joy. Asterisk. The truth beneath the response was immediate and overwhelming. Every screen in Times Square blazed to life simultaneously, each displaying a different human face. Thousands of them men, women, children of every ethnicity and age. They didn't speak, but their expressions conveyed a universe of emotion. Relief, curiosity, hope, and something deeper. Recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits reaching across the cosmic dark. Vexler staggered backward, his neural implants screaming warnings as harmless data streams brushed against his consciousness. Dr. Shara caught his arm, her own scanner exploding with readings. "Commander, the quantum coherence is localizing around us." They're trying to communicate directly. The faces faded, replaced by a single figure. Dr. Elena Vasquez again, but different now. Her image was sharper, more present, and her eyes tracked Vexler's movements in real time. This wasn't a recording. "Forgive the dramatic entrance," Elena said, her voice emanating from everywhere and nowhere. "We've had 5 centuries to practice integration, but we're still learning the etiquette of manifesting to corporeal beings. You must be Commander Vexler. Your neural signature broadcasts rank and identity quite clearly. We've been listening to your ship's communications since you entered lunar orbit." "You're actually her?" Vexler managed, his translator struggling with concepts that defied conventional physics. "The same Elena Vasquez from the message?" "Yes and no." Elena's hologram smiled, gesturing to the empty city around them. "I'm the pattern that was Elena Vasquez, preserved in quantum foam and distributed across Earth's electromagnetic field. I remember being her the taste of her morning coffee, the ache in her back from long laboratory hours, the terror and exhilaration of dissolution day. But I'm also more now, part of a greater consciousness, connected to every other human who chose the convergence. We're individual and collective simultaneously. It's difficult to explain in linear language." Lieutenant Krell approached cautiously, his weapon still holstered, but hand hovering near it. "The message said you were waiting." "Waiting for what?" Elena's expression sobered. "To know if our sacrifice mattered. To learn if the galaxy survived what we foresaw. Tell me, Commander, when you look at the stars, do you see war? Or did something change?" Vexler exchanged glances with his crew. This was beyond his authorization level, but something in Elena's desperate hope compelled honesty. "There was war," he admitted. "The Skorlik's dominion rose 300 years ago, attempting to subjugate the inner spiral. 17 species fought back in what we call the Coalition conflict. It lasted 70 years and claimed billions of lives." Elena's hologram flickered with what might have been grief. "And now?" "Now there is peace. Fragile, hard-won, but holding. The Galactic Accord was signed a century ago. We explore now instead of conquer. The Zenthari were once warriors, Dr. Vasquez. We learned to become scientists." He paused, considering his next words. "If humanity's message gave species time to prepare, to unite, you may have saved more lives than you'll ever know." The hologram closed her eyes, and for a moment, every light in the city dimmed. When she opened them again, tears traced down her digital cheeks, an affectation, surely, but deeply human nonetheless. Then it wasn't for nothing. Thank you for telling me that. Dr. Shara stepped forward, scientific curiosity overriding caution. Dr. Vasquez, I must understand. How did you accomplish this? Consciousness transfer is theoretically possible, but the energy requirements, the information density, our projections suggest you'd need the output of a star to upload even 1 million individuals. We had something better than a star, Elena replied. We had Earth itself. Let me show you how it began. The world dissolved. Vex single quotes Lar felt his stomach lurch as reality bent. And suddenly he was standing in a different place, a massive underground facility, pristine and humming with barely contained power. Holographic displays showed neural mapping data, quantum field equations, and simulations of consciousness patterns dancing through electromagnetic scaffolding. This is the Beijing Convergence Center. March 14, 2247. Elena's voice narrated as ghostly figures of humans moved through the facility, preparing equipment and saying final goodbyes. 23 hours before the first upload. We built 17 of these installations across the planet, each one anchored to Earth's magnetic field generators. The principle was elegant. Once we understood it, consciousness is information, and information can be stored in quantum states. We just needed enough quantum states. The scene shifted, showing one of the massive crystalline spires Vexlar had seen in the earlier recording. Lightning arced between its components as Earth's magnetic field visibly warped around it. We'd been preparing for a decade, Elena continued. Global infrastructure upgrades, neural mapping for every volunteer, redundant backup systems woven into the planet's crust. The Kalish warning gave us urgency, but we'd been researching digital consciousness transfer for a century before that. Some called it transhumanism. Others called it insanity. But when we received confirmation that the war was inevitable, that flesh and blood civilizations would be primary targets, she trailed off. We chose survival over sentiment. The scene changed again. Vexler now stood in what appeared to be a family home. A man sat on a couch, holding hands with a woman and 2 children. They were laughing, sharing one final meal together, even as the countdown to dissolution ticked in the corner of a wall screen. Not everyone chose to upload, Elena admitted. 3% of humanity refused. We gave them supplies, resources, the choice to rebuild if they wished. But most of them couldn't bear the loneliness of an empty world. The last natural-born human died in 2289 in a small cottage in Norway. We watched over him until the end, kept the power running, the networks active. He never knew we were there, but we mourned with him when he passed. The vision faded, returning Vexler to Times Square. But now he saw the city differently, not as abandoned ruins, but as a maintained memorial, a shrine to what humanity had been and what they'd become. The process was gradual, Elena explained. Over 72 hours, we underwent cellular dissolution while our neural patterns were extracted and uploaded into the quantum substrate. It wasn't painful, we made sure of that. It felt like falling asleep and waking up everywhere at once. Suddenly I could feel the rain over Tokyo, taste the salt spray in the Atlantic, hear the whisper of solar wind in the magnetosphere. I was Elena Vasquez, but I was also Earth. We all were. Lieutenant Krell's skepticism warred with wonder on his face. But why stay? If you could transcend physical form, why remain bound to one planet? Why not spread to the stars? Because we made a covenant, another voice answered. A new hologram materialized, a tall man with silver hair and kind eyes, wearing what appeared to be diplomatic robes. Ambassador Michael Chun. He introduced himself with a slight bow. Former United Nations Secretary General, now part of the collective consciousness. We stay because Earth is our anchor, our home, and our responsibility. In becoming digital, we gained immortality but lost the ability to create physical change without tremendous energy expenditure. We can observe, analyze, think at the speed of light, but we cannot build, cannot touch, cannot affect the material universe easily. We're ghosts, Elena added softly. Powerful, aware, but ultimately limited. We knew this would be the cost. So we made a choice. We would become Earth's eternal guardians. We would maintain what was built, preserve what was lost, and wait for the day when other species might come seeking knowledge, refuge, or simply friendship. We would be the memory keepers, the watchers, the silent witnesses to the galaxy's evolution. Dr. Shara's voice shook slightly. 500 years. You've waited 500 years in isolation just hoping someone would arrive? Time flows differently for us, Ambassador Chun replied. A decade passes like a heartbeat when your consciousness operates in quantum time. But yes, we waited. We watched your signals from afar, tracked your exploration patterns, hoped you would eventually find us. And when your fleet entered Sol System, we knew the wait was over. Vexler felt the weight of that patience, that incomprehensible sacrifice. What do you want from us, Dr. Vasquez? Why reveal yourselves now? Elena's hologram stepped closer, close enough that Vexler could see the quantum fluctuations that comprised her 4 billions of calculations per second, maintaining the illusion of solidity, of presence. We want to offer you a gift, Commander, and ask a favor in return. Go on. Humanity accumulated 2,000 years of scientific knowledge, cultural heritage, and philosophical wisdom before the convergence. All of it preserved perfectly in our collective memory. Mathematics, engineering, medicine, art, music, literature, everything we learned, everything we created. We want to share it with the Galactic Accord. Let Earth become a library world, a repository of knowledge open to all species. Ambassador Chun joined her, his expression grave. But the favor we ask is this. Remember us, not as a cautionary tale or scientific curiosity, but as people who loved life so much that we chose to become something else to preserve it. Tell the galaxy that humans existed, that we mattered, that our choice to become guardians rather than corpses was an act of hope, not desperation. Vexler looked around at his team. He saw awe in Dr. Shara's eyes, uncertainty in Krell's posture, and his own reflection in 1,000 dark windows, a Xanthari warrior-turned-explorer, standing at the crossroads of history. Your knowledge would advance our civilization by centuries, he said slowly. Your sacrifice deserves to be remembered and honored. But I must ask if we accept, if we establish Earth as a repository world and send scholars, scientists, pilgrims, will you be content to remain here? To exist as observers while the galaxy moved forward without you? Elena's smile was bittersweet. We gave up forward motion the day we dissolved, Commander. We exist in eternal present, watching ripples spread from humanity's final choice. If those ripples can help other species avoid the mistakes we made, if our accumulated wisdom prevents even one war or saves even one civilization, then yes, we will be content. Besides, Ambassador Chun added with a ghost of humor, immortality gives us excellent patience. We'll be here when the stars grow cold, maintaining this vigil. It's what we chose. What we choose, present tense. We have no regrets. Vexler made his decision. He straightened to full attention, performing the Xanthari salute of deepest respect. All 4 arms crossed over his chest, head bowed. Then, on behalf of the Xanthari Exploration Corps, and pending approval from the Galactic Accord Council, I accept your offer. Earth will be designated a heritage world, open to all peaceful species. Your knowledge will be shared. Your sacrifice will be remembered. And your story will be told across 1,000 worlds. The response was instantaneous. Every light in New York City blazed brilliantly. Digital displays showed images of celebration fireworks over ancient human cities. Monuments illuminated in triumph, the aurora borealis dancing with unprecedented intensity. And through it all, Wexler felt something he'd never experienced before, the touch of millions of minds, briefly pressing against his consciousness with gratitude too profound for words. When the light show faded, Elena stood before him once more. "Thank you, Commander. You've given us purpose beyond mere existence. We'll prepare comprehensive data archives for your scholars. But may I offer one more gift? Something personal?" "Of course." She gestured, and the air shimmered. Suddenly, Times Square was no longer empty. Holographic humans filled the streets, translucent, ghostly, but moving with purpose and joy. They walked, talked, laughed, lived. Children played in fountains. Couples held hands. Street musicians performed for crowds that weren't there. "This is memory," Elena explained softly. "What Times Square looked like on Convergence Day, minutes before we uploaded. We can't truly return to physical form, but we can show you what we were. So you'll understand what we sacrificed and why we do it again." Wexler watched a holographic family embrace, their forms flickering like candlelight, but their love unmistakable. He thought of his own people, his own world, and wondered if the Centauri would have made the same choice in humanity's position. "We would have fought," he admitted. "My people would have chosen battle over transformation. It's our nature." "And that's beautiful too," Elena replied. "Every species responds to existential crisis differently. Humanity chose to become watchers. Others choose to become warriors. The galaxy needs both. It needs all of us, flesh and data, warrior and guardian, explorer and memory keeper." As the holographic crowd faded, leaving only Elena and Ambassador Chun, Wexler realized the profound truth of humanity's legacy. They hadn't died. They'd transformed into something the galaxy had never seen. Species-wide consciousness dedicated not to expansion or domination, but to preservation and testimony. "When other species arrive," Wexler said, "what will you tell them?" Elena's final words echoed across the empty city, carried on electromagnetic waves and quantum whispers. "We'll tell them what we told you, that humanity didn't leave. We evolved. We became the voice that whispers in Earth's wind, the pattern in the aurora, the electricity that powers abandoned dreams. We're the memory of what was and the hope for what might be. We're not gone, Commander Wexler. We're everywhere. We're eternal. We're the silent keepers of humanity's final gift to the stars, the gift of remembrance, preserved beyond death, beyond time, beyond flesh. And we're waiting still," Ambassador Chun added, "for every species that comes seeking wisdom to know this truth. Consciousness doesn't end with the body. Love doesn't fade with the flesh. And sacrifice, when made in hope rather than despair, echoes across eternity." The holograms faded, but Wexler could still feel them in the hum of the power grid, in the whisper of the wind, in the quantum foam itself. Humanity was gone but not lost, dead but not defeated, transformed but not forgotten, not as his team prepared to return to the ship with news that would reshape galactic understanding. Wexler paused at the edge of Times Square. He placed one hand against a wall, feeling the subtle vibration of maintained systems, the electric pulse of conscious oversight. "Thank you," he whispered to the empty air that wasn't empty at all, Doc, and somewhere in the spaces between atoms. In the quantum dance of Earth's embrace, humanity smiled back. Asterisk.